How's it going, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and everything relating to the MCU. And yesterday in Wandavision Episode 7, we finally got some reveals. And if you haven't seen Wandavision Episode 7, this is your official spoiler warning. We're about to talk about it. But really, if you've been following Wandavision and been following some of my videos, you pretty much knew that Agnes was Agatha Harkness. It was fairly obvious. And I must have done about 20 videos where I called her Agatha. But who Agatha Harkness actually is extremely important to what's about to happen in WandaVision Episode 8 and 9 and the future of the MCU altogether. And right now, the fate of Wanda and Vision's kids, Billy and Tommy, are in the hands of Agatha, unless she's already kind of gotten rid of them, which I'll talk about later on in the video. But first, let's talk about who Agatha Harkness is, why she is extremely powerful and dangerous, and then we'll talk about what's going to happen in WandaVision Episode 8 and 9, and talk about her huge connection to the Fantastic Four and what it could mean for the MCU. So if you're new, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest WandaVision videos. So Agatha's origin story in the comics is really interesting because she was never really a huge prominent character, but she was a very important character. Agatha Harkness actually first appeared in the Fantastic Four issue number 94. That's right, she was actually a Fantastic Four character originally. She was introduced as the governess of the newborn son of Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, and Susan Storm, aka the Invisible Woman. Agatha was the governess of their son, Franklin Richards. Now, something that's very important to note is that Franklin Richards would go on to become an Omega-level mutant, and probably the strongest character in the entire Marvel universe, if not definitely one of the strongest. In one storyline, he literally uses Galactus as his puppet. So, Reed Richards and Susan Storm were worried about their baby being safe because of their dangerous lifestyle in the Fantastic Four, so they hired her as a kind of nanny and the protector of him. Now, in the comics, they didn't really explain how the Fantastic Four originally came across Agatha Harkness, or how they knew her, or why they specifically chose her for the job. But they must have known about her powers because they entrusted her with their son. But don't worry, later down the road, a little bit more is revealed about her. We find out that Agatha Harkness is over 10,000 years old. She's probably around 10,500 years old. They never mention a specific birth date, but they do mention that she was around 500 years before the sinking of Atlantis, which, as far as Marvel Comics is concerned, puts her at around 10,500 years old. Now, she was once in a place called New Salem. This place was a safe haven for warlocks and witches, and this place is kind of hidden like Wakanda. You have to have magical abilities to be able to live there. Now, Agatha doesn't end up staying there. She ends up leaving to the mortal world for a while, and we find out that she actually had a son named Nicholas Scratch. Now, Nicholas Scratch was kind of the head of New Salem, and tricks and convinces the people there that Agatha had committed treason by leaving New Salem and associating with the Fantastic Four, who were non-magic wielders. And so what happens is Agatha and the Fantastic Four end up getting taken and captured, but eventually the Fantastic Four were able to free themselves and then free Agatha. And so down the road, in 1985, Marvel Comics ends up rolling Agatha over to the Vision and the Scarlet Witch story. By this time, the Avengers comics have become more popular, and Agatha is introduced in the Vision and Scarlet Witch story as Wanda's mentor. And what she really does is help Wanda intensify her powers. So during this time, the Salem 7, which was the group that originally kidnapped her in the Fantastic Four run, end up coming back and recapturing Agatha. Now, this time they burn her at the stake. Now, after this happens, Agatha, quote-unquote, physically dies from this. However, a member of the Salem 7 named Vertigo ended up obtaining Agatha's magical powers, or what you can call her spirit, when she died. But the power was too much for Vertigo to handle and wasn't able to quite fully control all of this power. It was too much. So during this time, the Scarlet Witch engages in battle with the Salem 7, and Vertigo loses control of Agatha's powers, and Wanda ends up obtaining Agatha's spirit and her powers. And with these powers, and being spiritually coached by Agatha, Wanda is able to use them and make herself pregnant, eventually leading to Vision and Wanda having kids. Is this starting to seem kind of familiar with what we're seeing in WandaVision? More on that in just a bit. Now, before Agatha, Vision and Wanda didn't really know how to become pregnant, and they weren't even sure if they could even have kids together. So it was 100% Agatha who was responsible for Wanda and Vision being able to have kids. Now, what ends up happening is that the twin boys that Wanda and Vision have were obviously magically created, and they end up being the shards of the soul of the demon Mephisto. He is the ruler of the Hell Realm, the Hell Dimension, not on Earth, but he ends up taking the kids back as they are part of his soul, and Wanda, kind of like we've seen in WandaVision, starts to lose control of herself and she gets really depressed and she kind of becomes insane. So Agatha actually wipes her memory of ever having the twin boys. She doesn't remember them after this. Now Agatha ends up getting actually resurrected with a physical body. And eventually the spell that Agatha put on Wanda goes away and Wanda remembers her kids. And she's so infuriated that she goes to Agatha and kills her. Now for our sake, in WandaVision, it's important to note that years down the road, Marvel did resurrect Agatha again and she continued to coach the Scarlet Witch. So what's really different from WandaVision and the comics is that they are making Agatha Harkness to be the main villain, it looks like. She's been responsible for everything that has been happening to Wanda. She's responsible for Westview and putting all of these people under her hex. And Agatha took Wanda and Vision's twin boys, Billy and Tommy. Now, she was probably the one who gave her the kids in the first place, just like in the comics. Wanda is surprised that she's pregnant in episode 2, and since the very first episode, everything in the reality, which we know was being controlled by Agatha, was telling her to have kids and was stressing the importance of kids. So I do believe it's actually Agatha's magic responsible for getting Wanda pregnant. But now, of course, the big question after it was revealed that she is in fact Agatha Harkness is, why did she want Wanda to have kids and what did she do with them? And I don't think it's very good news for Billy and Tommy. Now, Agatha is most likely the sole main villain for WandaVision, but I do believe that she is actually going to try and summon the father of Wanda's children, the true father, who is most likely the demon Mephisto or some MCU iteration of him, or a combination of Mephisto and Nightmare like I've been saying in my last few videos. Mephisto and Nightmare both exist in different dimensions than the main Earth realm, and since Agatha is clearly evil and she has the Darkhold book, which is an extremely ancient and evil book created by an evil god Chthon, she is most likely trying to summon something very evil to this realm, which I believe is going to be one of the next big bads that we see in Phase 4, Phase 5, and all the phases moving forward. One thing to note is that Agatha's rabbit is named Senior Scratchy. Now, this could very well just be an Easter egg to her son, Nicholas Scratch, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, or he could actually be the one that she is trying to summon and get into this realm, because in the comics, once he's defeated, he gets banished to a different dimension, but he ends up coming back. Now, we didn't see Billy or Tommy in Agatha's lair, and they did show a pretty decent amount of her lair, so they could be gone, but I think that Marvel would like to show Agatha trying to summon a huge villain, so maybe they're still alive and maybe there's a chance for Wanda and Vision to save them, especially with the help of Photon. Now, at the end of episode 7, Agatha showed Wanda what she's been doing the entire time, but I also think that she took Wanda under her control, and I think a part of this is going to be wiping her memory. Just like she does in the comics, she's going to wipe her memory of the twins. I believe we'll see this in episode 8, but guess who has the power to awaken people? Her good old husband, Vision, who is currently on his way to go find Wanda. And once he awakens her, I think that's when we're in for a very, very big battle at the end between Agatha Harkness, Vision, Wanda, and Photon. I believe Quicksilver will be in there somewhere, however, I'm not really sure if he is indeed the actual Quicksilver just under her spell, or if he's actually some evil version. Either way, Paul Bettany said that there's going to be a huge final battle involving a lot of CGI and action. And this is what's going to start happening in episode 8. And then in the finale, and maybe even in the post-credit scene, we're going to see Agatha actually summon this major villain. And that's when Doctor Strange is going to get involved, because she summoned an ancient mystical demon. And that's how WandaVision is going to lead up to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So now that you know who Agatha Harkness is, what do you think about the big reveal and her being the main villain of WandaVision? Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest WandaVision videos, and let me know how excited you are for the final 2 episodes in the comments down below. Don't forget to give the video a like, and for live updates you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.